Hello, I'm Mike Gillespie. I'm the Managing Director of Advent IM, a holistic security consultancy and specialist training company. I'm also Director of Cyber Strategy and Research for the Security Institute, and I'm Vice President of the CSCSS, C3I, Cybersecurity, Cybercrime and Cyber Intelligence Group. Today, I want to look at some of the challenges business face from cyberspace, with specific relation to the specification, installation and management of security equipment. Although it may seem complex and baffling, addressing some of this with simple language, we get an opportunity to build resilience throughout our organisation, as well as build commercial opportunity when it comes to our approach to installation, and to really raise our own profiles when it comes to know-how and professionalism. I will offer some guidance and tips for installers that will help put you on the right path, and discuss training opportunities that may help support any learning curve in a positive, inclusive and jargon-free way. You can download this presentation if you wish, and if you would like a copy of the glossary we wrote, especially to help overcome any communication gaps, just email the address at the end of the presentation and ask for one. You will not be added to any marketing lists unless you specifically state you wish to, whether you want our newsletter or any helpful content from Advent IM. Something I commonly hear when I discuss cybersecurity is I don't do IT and I don't get cyber. It's got nothing to do with me. Those days are long since gone, and quite apart from the fact we now conduct not only a good proportion of our working lives enabled by cyberspace, but a great deal of our personal lives too. Our systems are web enabled in most cases, and so this means yes, you do cyber. The only question that remains is how well you do it. In simple terms, understanding the role cybersecurity plays in the safe and successful use of the product you install is good practice. Many systems are not built securely. There are vulnerabilities and exploits that can cause damage and loss to not only those systems, but other networks and systems to which they are connected, for management or even further down the chain. If they have not been segregated effectively, they all pose a threat to each other. So actually, we have a responsibility to ensure our part of the installation and advice from management is part of what we do. Increasing skill levels is great from both a personal and an organisational perspective. In reality, we are in a serious cybersecurity skills shortage, and so we cannot rely on there being a pool of available talent to come in and do what is required. There are not enough to go around, and in reality, it is the responsibility of everyone in the organisation to handle the security for their own actions and roles. If you're an installer who is on site with other organisations, this is an increased level of responsibility, and unless you are installing an old coax system, then this will affect you. Customers who receive good advice, clear guidelines and great service will always recommend and appreciate you. An installer has a unique opportunity to build a relationship through their knowledge that they can pass along to the customer, helping them to future-proof their systems where possible and understand the life cycle, taking the cyber threat landscape into account. Resilience is a word we hear a lot in business. When it comes to cybersecurity, regardless of the system, physical or corporate for instance, resilience is key. Add in our interconnectedness with our supply chain partners, and you can start to see how serious incidents like the Target retail breach happened. A retailer losing credit card details for thousands of customers, not because of their corporate network being especially weak, but because the attackers chose to get into their systems via the air conditioning contractor's maintenance portal. Target was connected in cyberspace to their contractor, because this was how they handled large-scale maintenance planning. It makes perfect sense to do this. However, because the portal was not adequately protected, and indeed was a very easy route into a very rich target, it was exploited. More recently, we have seen CCTV cameras and other Internet of Things being used by attackers to knock over websites such as Twitter and PayPal. This is done by finding devices that are insecure, infecting them with malware that then turns them over to an attacker's control. Those attackers then turned millions of them into platforms like PayPal and flooded them with requests so that they stopped working. This is what we call a distributed denial of service, or DDoS. It is a huge inconvenience when it knocks over a social media site, but social media sites are not always going to be the target, are they? The interconnectedness of everything places strain upon cyber resilience, and physical systems are used as an easy access point. Bear this in mind as we move through this presentation. Especially important when we start to talk about UK security as a whole. You may have little or no awareness of who your business or your customer's business is connected to. At some point, this could be connected to a critical national infrastructure system. The CNI doesn't have a code of connection, and much of it is in private hands, so security requirements are not always consistent. As such, our responsibility is to make sure the degrees of separation in our business ecosystem and understand that one shaky link in the chain has the potential to be a threat to our CNI. So there is threat via supply chain, both to and from us. Our customers need us to be robust in our skills and advice, and so do their customers and your suppliers. CNI and UK PLC need you to ensure that you have the knowledge and the skills to help block some of those chinks in the armour as you come across them, and to help prevent new ones. We have discussed some of the challenges already, but in summary, we know that there is a limited cyber skill pool available, and in many cases the pool is stretched to its limits. The prevailing paradigm tends to be one of, I don't do cyber, I'm a physical security person. As I am sure you have gathered so far, this will soon be extinct. Those who adapt successfully to a networked and cyber-enabled world will be the ones who thrive, because customers will feel safer and supported, knowing that they have got all basics covered and where to get help for more complex arising issues. Understanding the language is a challenge. Training is the answer. I know the language of cyber is a huge challenge, but getting to understand what the basics mean will help throughout your digital life, as well as raising your game at work. There are courses designed for physical security people who need cyber basics, and it need not cost the earth, but the difference it can make will be tremendous. Why not start with our glossary? It is free and it covers some of the most common language. The Internet of Things covers everything, from pacemakers to air conditioning and nuclear power plants. Learning about the scale of items it covers, all connected, all potentially vulnerable, and also potential zombies to be used in a denial of service attack or worse. This could include your CCTV system or your building management system, for instance. Cost is always going to be an issue. We know from experience that manufacturers feel the onus for security lies with the end user, and the end users generally think that if they are buying a security system, then security will be built in. That gap in perception is where the attackers get in. At some point, someone has to decide where the responsibility lies. Until then, we have to make sure we inform customers that their systems may need the attention of their own IT security teams, in order to make sure it is covered by regular maintenance from the cyber end. New paradigms don't just happen overnight. They take time to emerge and bed in. The only problem here is that time isn't a luxury we can afford, because those who wish to exploit our systems do not hang around and wait for you. They're not going to wait for you to get prepared like the cowboys in an old western, politely waiting to fight the hero one at a time. Conversely, there are opportunities in this. Customers will go where they feel that they are getting value. Your understanding and advice will add a new dimension to your installation process that is a value add. Eventually, this will be the new paradigm, so get on board now. Offering assurance to supply chain partners that you take security seriously will always be a commercial advantage. It will enhance your reputation, and it will help raise standards and perception of our industry overall. Some things you can do now, and without needing expensive training. Know your enemy. It can be hard to keep up with all the security news, and not all publications cover all aspects of security in a joined-up manner. It is well worth keeping on top of the landscape through the news though, because it will help you to understand the current threats and how they could impact you. Remember that the loss of a batch of passwords could still relate to you because, as we have discussed, the inroad could well have been a physical system. So never make the mistake of dismissing this kind of breach as irrelevant to you. It is all relevant to you. If you're struggling with acronyms and language, and everyone does, so never think it is just you, then use your free glossary. It explains many of the most commonly used phrases and acronyms, and it will help contextualize what you are reading. Find out what training resources are available to you as a physical security person in the cyber arena. For instance, training professionals like Tavcom offer a course designed specifically for non-cybersecurity people. Some key guidelines for you to pick up now would be never leave a site with a default login credential in place. Some passwords are better than others, so it is worth acquainting yourself with how to construct a good password so that you can pass this on to your customer. If you visit the blog on the AdventIM website and search on passwords, you will find plenty of free advice. Talk to IT security. Find out if they have oversight of physical systems to ensure that they are firewalled and protected with anti-malware, and that they are regularly security patched. This is when the platform that the software is running on, a system that is protected by regular security updates that cover discovered vulnerabilities in much the same way you get on your own PC. I appreciate you may all be installing a variety of systems, and the challenges are going to be multiple, but inaction could mean that the system you install could be vulnerable. As I've said, saying you don't do cyber is no longer an option, and using skills, old and new, will place you well for success and resilience.